location in Istanbul.
It's a quiet, open zone.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's Turkish light on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you lived in Constantinople, should have been in Istanbul. Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone in Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. Istanbul, Istanbul. Istanbul, even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way.
So as you can see, we all worked very hard this summer.
Yes.
I'm Maxine Ever from the Reproductive Health Department, and I want to introduce Laura Glish, who was a consultant with us, and now is en route to Mali to work as a fellow there. Laura organized, with Dana Tilson, a trip for PSI staff and members from ministries of health in various WHP countries to go to Turkey last summer to see both the successful advocacy that happened within the government to change their family planning policies and do some dramatic growth, really resulting in dramatic growth in contraceptive prevalence, and also to look at the Willows Project, which is a model of behavior change communication that we're hoping to pull some lessons from and adapt to some of our programs. So as we're waiting for Dana, who's caught in a meeting, I think Laura's going to jump in and give us a bit of an overview.
Yeah. So we're going to start with a bit of a pop quiz. What's the most common method of contraception in Turkey? Brian!
Withdrawal!
Yeah! All right.
No prize?
Good job. Sorry, no prize. However, IUDs is the most common modern method, and 20% of women of reproductive age are currently using IUDs. So in Turkey, it's kind of interesting. They have a very high IUD use rate compared to many other countries, also a very high withdrawal rate. So a lot of traditional method users, but also the ones who are using modern methods are overwhelmingly using IUDs. So it's total CPR is 71%, only 43% are using modern methods. Okay, I'm not going to hit this time. All right, so while we were there, we went to Ankara, which is the capital, and we met with the Director General of the Maternal and Child Health program in the Ministry of Health. And he gave us a really good presentation on how he was able to get line item funding and really have a very strong maternal and child health program in Turkey. So when he first started, I think it was maybe over 10 years ago, he's been there for quite some time. They didn't have enough funding, and he went to the minister, and he went to the treasury and the politicians and all these people and said, you know, we need more money. What do you think was his reason? C? A. A? C. He said, you are enemies of children and of women, and they said, well, we don't really care. So he went back and did a cost-effectiveness analysis, where he looked at, you know, this is how much it will cost to meet unmet need, to improve our services, to improve access to rural women. This is how much it will cost if you have all these unintended pregnancies, all this cost of healthcare and other economic factors such as education, all these other things. So the way it came out was that family planning is much more cost effective, much cheaper to invest in family planning and preventing unwanted pregnancies now versus dealing with all these extra births and abortions later. So,
and I think it was interesting, if I can just interject here, I think, you know, we worked so hard on getting the ministries of health on board. Here was Director General of the Ministry of Health, and it was, you know, really getting members of parliament, the finance people. I think in terms of our advocacy, I haven't gotten past the Ministry of Health, and this was just eye-opening as we become more sophisticated in this, all the other layers that we're going to need to address.
And other people he approached were like scientists, other key stakeholders, so he built a really strong coalition of high-level people to go with him and lobby for increased funding for family planning. All right, when is Turkey projected to reach the Millennium Development Goals?
See.
You guys are so good.
You always go for the longest one.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so they've already met the Health Millennium Development Goals. So back in 2005, WHO Europe wrote a report about maternal mortality in Europe and highlighted Turkey's success, focusing on, again, a political priority, funding it accordingly, and also providing services in a culturally sensitive manner. So they're one of the few countries that have already achieved all their MDGs. So that was a brief overview of just the advocacy. We have a lovely presentation from the DG you can see on our KICS page, on the reproductive health page. There's a Turkey tour KICS. You can see his whole presentation. Also, another member of the ministry gave us a nice presentation about IUD use and contraceptive use in general in Turkey. And then the second part of our trip, we went back to Istanbul and we focused more on the Willows Foundation, as Maxine was saying. So the Willows Foundation is really based on IPC. And during our last day there, we had a nice workshop with just the PSI participants. So we had participants from 13 different countries that came, and one of the participants was talking about how to sell something and how to build relationship with people and how to really convince them to change their behavior. And he said, when I was interested in sex, I didn't give a girl a condom and say, let's have sex. I gave her a flower. So we thought that was a good metaphor for how we need to be building relationships, building trust with our IPC, not just going and saying, you should use an IUD, but really kind of meeting their needs, seeing what speaks to them and how to best get through to them, building those relationships, and then saying, hey, have you considered using a modern method?
Dana will cover that when she gets here. I mean, we looked at some of IPC bottles that we're using now. I'll just very briefly touch on them. Pakistan, we're very much working around facilities where we at Green Star are providing services. It's a facilities-based model. We work in a clinic catchment area and direct people to our own clinics. In Uganda, we're working through local community health workers. We're tapping into an existing system and training them and helping them incorporate our messages. And Myanmar, I really am not prepared to talk about the clinic assistance, but Dana will address that when we're there. But I think one thing that characterizes a lot of our IPC to date is it's either about a specific PSI product or service, and it is not necessarily systematic. I think it happens to be very random on a catch-as-catch-can basis. And something we're going to see in the Willows model is a different way of approaching that. Okay. Oh, I thought.
Maxine,
Yes.
sorry. Dana actually had an appointment outside, so she may be a little late.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go on. I think one of the things she had wanted to demonstrate was just the phenomenal change in Turkey's contraceptive prevalence rate during this time. And you don't have those stats, do you? Well, we'll just talk about the Willows area. Okay. As Laura said, the second part of our trip was visiting